I heard a special someone received a set of pencils. I thought it would be fun to put together a little tutorial about those pencils. And thanks for the nudge to the mama. I like the nudges. If you need a little tutorial for your art student working so diligently from home these days, send it my way and I'll consider it. The first thing I do is I try to see if there's anything that would be easy just to send along quickly. And I couldn't really find something that I could quickly send along. So I thought, how fun. I get to make another quick little video here. And you know what, the first part of my fun involved, since I am not at the classroom, going around my house, my studio included, and I have a creative space upstairs in a nook, in an alcove, and that's my drawing space. I have a drawing space up there, or sketching space. And then going through like my art bags here, my traveling kit and things like that, to see what pencils they had. That was a fun exercise. And this is what I came up with. I have these to talk about today. So, first thing, and I haven't looked at them. I want to just do this together. We're just going, I haven't really looked at specifics. I noticed that they look different, but other than that, I don't really know what I've got going here. So I'm going to, we're gonna do this together. I'm so excited. It's like a fun adventure in art. First, I'm going to sharpen. If you don't have one of these sharpeners, I recommend one of these sharpeners. But you know them from the classroom. The reason that it isn't sharpening very well is because the pencil that I was injured, like this pencil was injured before, and so was this one, but it will regain its structure as I use it more. That looks like a good start. Before I even look at my pencils, I just want to talk a little bit about something here. And in fact, a number 2 pencil, if you don't have any art pencils, is the best of all the pencils to use. What's really fun to think about, well, for me it's fun to think about, is that drawing pencils are labeled with H's or B's usually. And this is how they're labeled. I should have used a darker like a marker so you could see this. When your pencils came in their box, they were in order, and this is how you order your pencils. These for blackness, and H's are for hardness. As the number increases on the H's, they're harder. There's a harder lead, and it goes from darkest to to lightest. Okay, and this is blackness. This is the lightest of the blackness, and then it goes like this to the darkest of the blackest. So it goes, this would be the lightest of the bees, and it would go to the darkest here. The harder the lead, the lighter it draws. The softer the lead, the darker it draws. So these pencils over here are going to require less sharpening, and these pencils over here are going to require a lot of sharpening. Now it's going to be fun because I'm going to see what pencils I have, because typically I probably have worked through several boxes of drawing pencils, but I've only kept the ones around that I use a lot, which is what this is what artists do. They, through exploring materials, they come up with their favored materials. And so one of the benefits of getting a complete box of art pencils in all grades, these are called grades of lead, basically, is you get to discover what pencils you love working with or you like. So now I'm going to read these and see what they are, if I can read them. I have my glasses on. This is a 4B. So that's right here. And this is a 6B. Oh, this is a colored pencil, so that isn't included. This is an HB. Oh, that's interesting. That goes in the middle right here. HB. And here's an H. I have another 6B. Ooh, this is an 8B. 4H. Oh, this is another HB right here. But I have a good selection to show you a little bit. So when you test out your pencils, first of all, I think if you had younger siblings, it might be fun to play a game with them where you mix up your pencils and you make a grid and they have to match them back up. That might be a fun game, or maybe you might even want to play that game. It might be fun. Because it's counterintuitive to count backwards this way and then to count forwards this way. But it's good practice to learn how to grade your different pencils. We work with ebony pencils in the classroom. And ebony pencils fall over here somewhere. They're off the chart. So what does that tell you? They're very soft and they're very dark. And these are the pencils that we use when we sketch at the museum. The reason that we don't use a lot of harder pencils in the classroom is because we work so diligently on lightness of touch. Friends have a tendency to press really hard with their pencils regardless, and so we're constantly working with lightness of touch. And if you press really hard with a hard lead pencil, it actually creates an indentation in your paper. So one thing that I would really want you to do, one thing that I would recommend is practicing the same lightness of touch with every pencil and not pressing harder with one or the other. And that's difficult, but that's an excellent drawing skill, is to learn how to apply lightness of touch across the board. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to do my H4 here. And I'm applying the same, I'm going to apply the same lightness of touch on every one. I'm not going to press hard. And if you need to practice lightness of touch, if you hold the pencil here, it helps practice with that. And eventually you can come down. But we have a tendency to hold our pencils tight and press hard. We always talk about that in the classroom. You have to remember, this is an H. You can see it's a little bit darker than that one. H, I'll just do one of the HBs. Oh, look at how much darker that one is. I can already tell it's so much softer too than these two. Okay, is this a 4B? Yes. I'm using the same application pressure on every one. These are also different brands, so I know that matters a little bit, that varies. So you'll see that this is the darkest and this is the lightest. So your job is to practice mixing these. This is what I would think would be a great lesson. Mixing up your pencils, creating your own chart, and putting your pencils back in order this way. And then testing them all out with the same amount of pressure. So you would have a mark, just like I've made, on every label here, not just the 6 that I have. And then learning which ones you like the best, making a note of that. Now, as a general rule when drawing, if you have mastered using each pencil with the same amount of pressure, means not pressing hard, that means using lightness of touch. A harder pencil that makes a lighter drawing is something that you sketch out an initial drawing with, because you'll barely be able to see it. And then once, when you're sketching something out, there are lines you choose you want to keep and lines you don't want to keep. And you'll use your darker pencil to emphasize the lines you want to keep. So it's always good to have a harder pencil and a softer pencil, a darker pencil, to define what actual lines you want to keep in your sketch. If you use a harder pencil with a lighter shade, you can just keep drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing lines and lines and decide, I don't like that line, and you don't have to erase. You can just keep drawing and keep drawing and keep drawing, and then you decide which lines to go over with your dark pencil. All right, so just to review here, create a chart. Mix up your pencils from your pencil box. Reorganize them according to your chart. Use the same amount of pressure and do a tiny sketch under each label so you can see the different grade. The grade from lightest to darkest, from hardest lead to softest lead. And once you have mastered the same amount of pressure when using every pencil, it might be fun to create a sketch where you can make as many mistakes as you could just draw and draw and draw and draw, lines, anywhere you want on the paper with a harder lead, and then decide which lines you like the best and go over those lines with a softer lead. And while you're doing this, deciding which ones you love the feel of the most or the mark of the most, because you will have a personal preference. You are the artist and you get to decide. So thanks for asking me to do this. Enjoy your pencils.